Hi everyone, I'm Dr Abbas Ali, your orthopedics faculty with Marrow, and today I want to discuss a very powerful tool that is there in your Marrow app, which I want you to utilize for your upcoming FMG exams so that you can not only crack it but also ace it. Now, this is a tool that is there since many months now, but most of you hesitate to use it. And the biggest reason why you are so hesitant to use this is because you do not want to take the grant tests in the first place. So in this video, I'll be talking about everything related to grant test, when you should start taking it, how you should attempt it, and how you should analyze and use the data-driven tool, that is the GT analytics tool, to improve your weak areas to master this exam. And also, I will try to solve some queries that most of you have in terms of grant test. Also, if you feel that I have not addressed something that is very important and relevant to you in terms of grant tests and its analytics, you can ask me those questions in the comments of this video, and I will definitely come back and try to answer them. So before we begin, let me just open our trusted app, Marrow app, that we are using to prepare for our FMG exam. So it's usually on my desktop. Let me open it up. So this is it opening up. You want its notifications? Absolutely, I always want its notifications. So this is the first page, right? So this is the page in front of you. So it has the home, question bank, the test and videos. So our topic of discussion is tests. So let's go to tests, which is over here. Let's click on test. Right, khul gaya. So these are the tests in front of you. So this is the first page that you would see. Now this is a page of all the tests that are there of yearly. So 2020, 2021, 2022 and 2023. So this is the page and this is the topic we are going to discuss. So the first important thing is, when should you start taking grant tests? Now, if you're familiar with me and if you're familiar about this MCQ exam, the most important thing to understand is that you should start taking grant tests yesterday. Matlab ye ki whenever you start preparing for an exam, it is best to start taking a grant test. It's best to start with a grant test. Why? Because the grant test will give you a baseline of your subject knowledge. And it also gives you this understanding, this taste of the exam that you're preparing for. See, you're preparing for an exam. Suppose, ऐसा exam है that you have never faced before, right? So how will you know what kind of exam it is? Unless you try it out and see it for yourself. Right? Suppose you want to drive a sports car. It is best that you start driving some car to understand how a car is driven. And once you're confident, you can slowly graduate to a sports car, right? You cannot directly go and drive a sports car and expect to drive well, na? Nahi hoga na, thuk jayegi, accident ho jayega. So that is the objective of starting grant tests before, right? The earlier you start grant tests, the earlier you understand how to play this game. The earlier you understand ki question twist kaise hota hai. What is this all except wala questions? What are these true and false wala questions? And what are these silly mistakes students make because they cannot understand the language of question? The assertion, reasoning, these kind of questions is sab ki practice hoti hai when you start giving grant tests. So the earlier you start, the more practice you will have for grant tests, because tests, the actual exam is an art. It's a strategy-based art that you should master in order to utilize the knowledge you have. See, most of the students I know have good knowledge, but they are unable to score marks on the exam. And the reason, and the single most important reason is that they are not capable of answering the MCQs. They're hesitant, they're scared, they're afraid because they are not exposed to it properly. So the first thing is to expose yourself to it so much that the actual exam, the final exam, becomes a routine exam to you. So you should start taking grant test as early as possible. Ek baseline to kar lo, you will get an idea of where you stand. Okay. Now, after you know where you stand in terms of marks, because your exam is not a competitive exam, it's a score-based exam, and you have to qualify it, right? Kisi se ladna hi nahi, kisi se fight karna nahi. You just have to qualify it. So attempt it and see where you stand in terms of marks. Are you qualifying or not? Most of you will not, because obviously you're preparing for it. It's a hard exam. So see where you are. What are your strong subjects and what are your weak subjects? How will you see that? Uske liye we have GT analytics, and that is what I will discuss with you, right? And I will also tell you what are the advantages and disadvantages of other things. This is the first thing that we have discussed. When should you start taking grant test? The answer is yesterday. The second thing is, once you've started taking grant test, you should learn how to evaluate your grant test. We will discuss its evaluation in terms of two things. First, how to evaluate the test in terms of GT analytics, seeing where you're strong and where you're weak. And the second and important thing is how to improve the weak areas of each test so that the subsequent test your score gets better and better. ये second चीज discuss करेंगे. Third, the last thing that we'll discuss is how to overall improve your grand test scores once you have completed your preparation and finish your study. Right? Basic subject ho gaya, you have completed your syllabus and your grand test, you're giving grand test, but your score is not improving. We'll see how we can improve that as well. And the most important thing is, I will be discussing all of this in the perspective of an international medical graduate like yourself to help you crack the exam, because this is not a competitive exam. We are not competing with else. We don't want to get first rank. We want to get a good enough score or a high enough score to crack this exam and sail through this. Okay, so this is the grand tests or the tests page. If you look at the top, you have grand tests, you have mini tests, you have subject tests, and this is a combination of all the tests. We'll be focusing on the grand test because that is the most important tool, but you can also use the same analytics for mini test as well as subject tests. So subject tests are subject specific tests where questions are only from one subject, where you will be initially biased because you know the question is from a particular subject. Mini tests are also this small grand test which you can do if you're short of time, which will keep you in the practice. Now the grand test is the standard grand test that you will face just like your final exam, where you have 150 questions for 2.5 hours in the morning session and another 150 questions for the 2.5 hours in the afternoon session. To total 300 questions, total time 5 hours. So first most important thing is time should never be a problem for appearing for an FMG exam because time is ample. So you have 5 hours for 300 questions, which comes to roughly around 1 minute per question or an average. Some questions you'll be able to answer within a few seconds. Some questions will take a few more minutes. So it average 1 minute is more than sufficient time. So time should not be an issue. It's usually just the knowledge and your ability to answer the questions. Okay, so this is the page, this is the landing page, the startup page for our grand test. So suppose, let's look at the year 2021. You have given a mock exam, a final national FMG mock exam, and this was part 1, the morning session, and you have gotten a rank of 437. This is after completing the grand test. We are talking about after completing the grand test. This is how it will look like. This green mark over here suggests that you have completed it. Matlab ho gaya. Open it up. So this is the first thing that you will see. You will see a rank here. This is the rank based on the number of people who have attempted this exam. Now, Marrow being a big tool, a popular platform, most of the students use this. So if you can see this rank yourself over here, so it will usually be the true representation of where you stand in the competition. Okay. So ye 437 rank hai. But for you, you don't have to worry about it because you're not competing with others. You just need to qualify. But also this gives you a sense of, purpose. Kuch idea aata hai. Thoda sa game type competition rehta hai. So that is healthy. So out of the 898 people, your rank is 437. So you're right spot in the middle. Okay. Now you can review the answers. If you click here, you can go and read each question and see the answer, whether you've got it right and whether you've got it wrong. Uska explanation kya hai, why was it right and why was it wrong. You can do that. Now, this is the score. You got 58 out of 150. Right, 58 out of 150, and your percentile is 51 percentile. What is this percentile? Percentile means this is the number of people below you. So suppose your percentile is 52%, it means you're better than 52% of the population. Right? Suppose your percentile was 90%, it means you're better than 90% of the population. So you're in the top 10% of the people, which is a very good percentile. So higher the percentile, better you're positioned compared to the population who has appeared for the exam. ठीक है, तो ये आपका स्कोर नहीं है, ये परसेंटाइल है. It is in representation to everyone else around you. So the idea is to constantly keep looking at your percentile to see whether you're improving or not. And I personally feel percentile is a very, very powerful tool because होता क्या है ना, sometimes papers become tough and you get a lower score. Sometimes paper is easy and you get a higher score. But if you keep looking at your percentile, you should understand that if the paper is tough, it will be tough for everybody, right? So even though your score is less, your percentile will remain the same or it will be higher because you are better than so many other people. समझ रहे हो? Now, if the paper is easy, your percentage will become higher, right? Your percentage or your score will become higher. And again, you should see your percentile in terms of where you're standing with your peer or audience. So percentile is of a more constant value to you rather than your percent, because percent and score will keep on increasing and changing depending on the difficulty of the exam to you. But if it is difficult for everybody, your percentile should remain the same. That is why I wanted to look at percentile. The aim is to make sure you have a steady growth in your percentile. That means that you're in the right path of your exam. Okay? So here are percentile. Uske baad, what should you look at? You should look at the number of correct answers you have gotten, wrong answers and skipped. Obviously, your exam has no negative marking, so skip to karna hi nahi hai. You should not skip any questions. So as much as possible, you should attempt all of the questions. Even if you don't know the answer, you should attempt it, because kya pata, aa gaya to aa gaya na, right? So right, wrong and number of skipped. So aim is to get more right, less wrong and have more skips. Now comes to the full analytics. Full analytics is where the data is, where the fun is, where everything is split to you, and that makes me very interested, because I'm a sort of a nerd who likes to understand and analyze things and see to the point what is improving and not changing. Why? Because you see, the analytics for a grand test, unlike human beings, are not emotional. ये बहुत objective होता है. It's very very objective. There is no bias, there is no emotion attached. Because sometimes what happens is, we personally feel that we are good at a particular subject, but in reality we are not. And sometimes we feel we are bad at a particular subject, but in reality we are very good at it. For me personally, biochemistry was a very, very hard subject. And I always felt that I was very poor in it. I was horrible at it. But when you can objectively look at the score that you're getting in that subject, you will realize that maybe you're not so bad at it. Maybe aapko aisa lagega ki you just assumed that you were bad at a subject. So for me, when I started observing my scores in biochemistry, I realized that I was not very bad at it. It was just my personal belief and assumption that I was bad at it. So you have to look at GT analytics because it gives you unbiased, objective view about your preparation. Right? It's not like your friend. जो बोलेगा हो जाएगा यार, तेरा भी हो जाएगा, मेरा भी हो जाएगा. This is not like your friend. This is a very important teacher who will tell you कि भैया, you're weak here. इसको जल्दी fix कर लो. Right, so that is GT analytics, and we'll go to that in a bit. This is where the fun is. But before you go, these are the top rankers. Again, you don't have to worry about top rankers, but this will get you an idea of where the other peers are, aapke friends, where they are stand in contrast to you. Now, there are certain names that are hidden because these are the people who have smartly chosen to be anonymous because they don't want their names to show up on the scoreboard, because introverts, reasons, jo bhi hai, whatever is, we have an option now where you can stay anonymous and not reveal yourself. So another advantage of looking at top rankers is how many more right did they get compared to you. Okay, aapko lagega ki there are 400 people ahead of you, but let's look at objectively how many more did they get right. 5 more questions right, and then the score would have been same, right? So it just gives you a confidence ki yaar utna difference nahi hai, aur hai to bahut difference, right? So that is the kind of idea you get by looking at their right and your correct scores. Okay, so this is the first page of any GT review. Now the fun is in the full analytics, and this is where we'll go now. Once you go into full analytics, you get the analytics of this grand test, this particular grand test that you have appeared for. Okay, now once we're inside, again we can see that we got a rank of 437, and again this is not very important for you. The score is important. You got 58 out of 150, 58 correct, 92 wrong, 0 skipped, and this should be 0 for you all the time. Now, this is a very important spider graph here. This is a graphical representation of your overall preparation in terms of all the subjects. Now, this is where you can see what is your preparation level for a particular subject compared to toppers, compared to your peers. So your score is yellow and the blue is your toppers. So this is a spider graph. These are your subjects: biochemistry, physiology, pathology, pharma, micro, and all these subjects all around. So you are somewhere over here. You have to go closer to the subject edge. The toppers are over here, so you're far away from them. Same thing for you in pathology. You're here, toppers are over here. Matlab you're way below in terms of knowledge from toppers. Your pharmacology is also weak, your microbiology is weak, your forensic is weak, ENT is weak, everything is weak. That is why you're somewhere over here, 437. Your preparation level is not so good in this particular grand test. Now, if you come down, this is a subject-wise split of the grand test, right? So there is an expand full list, but before we expand, you can see that this is your strongest subject. On this test, your strongest subject was microbiology, and your weakest subject was anatomy. So in microbiology, you got 7 out of 13 questions correct. And in anatomy, you got only 4 out of 17 correct, which is interesting because now you know that your anatomy is pretty weak for this test. But that is not the complete picture. I'll tell you how to analyze that also. So you're strong and weak subject. You can expand the list if you want to. And then you can see what are your top 3 strong subjects, micro, biochem, community medicine. And what are your 3 bottom weak subjects like anatomy, pharmacology, and ophthalmology on this grand test. Right? So this is what you will see. Then comes the time taken. So total time taken to appear for these 150 questions. So that is 2 hours and 17 minutes. So this is the total time taken from the first question that you looked at and then submission of the paper. Pura time. That's the total time. Now, time for answering. So this is a total time for answering. So this is a total time of the time you have taken to answer the question. Matlab, the moment you have looked at the question, time start ho gaya. And once you have clicked the answer, time close ho gaya. So that time is the time taken to answer. Time taken to answer. Then what is this time for reviewing then? What is this time for reviewing? Time for reviewing is basically the time you have taken. The time you have taken even after clicking on the answer to go to the next question. Matlab, even though you have clicked the answer of the question, you're still hovering on the same question, contemplating and thinking, is this the right answer? Should I change the answer? You reread the answer, you reread the question, but you have not moved on to the next question. That is the time for review. That is the time for review. So this gives you an idea that you're not very confident. You're spending way too much time, even though you have answered the question well. Okay. So average time per answer is 55 seconds. So this is an average time that you have taken to answer one particular question, the average of all the questions that you have. And this is a good time. Why is it a good time? Because my friends, in each session, you have 150 questions, right? But you have 2.5 hours for each session. So 2.5 hours means around 150 minutes. 150 minute means 9,000 seconds. 9,000 seconds. So you have to answer 150 questions in 9,000 seconds. Means each question you are able to answer in, or should be able to answer in 60 seconds. But here you are able to answer it within 55 seconds. Means you're good number. You're in a very good time zone. Nothing to worry about. Again, I'm telling you, for MCI screening exam, I don't think time should be your concern. Time bahut hai. Time bahut hai. Then you come down. There are 2 boxes here, just above the marrow heart. What does it say? Good guessing. And you change 34 answers. So what does this good guessing means? Read the statement here. You have guessed 29 answers and got 6 correct. Your net score from the guessed answer is 6. So this is a guess tracking system. What is this guess tracking system? So sometimes you read a question and you have no idea what it is. And sometimes you read a question, you have some idea what it is. Whatever it is, the options that you're going to choose from, you're not very confident, you're not very sure. Now you're trying your tukka, you're trying your luck. Now before you try your luck, I want you to mark something known as guess tracking there, right? So it's an option there that you can mark on before you attempt to answer. It's called guess tracking. I am guessing this answer. Okay, so there is a checkbox beneath the options. It's called guess answer. Once you click that and then choose your answer and move ahead, what will happen now? The software will realize that this answer that you've gotten the question of is not an answer that you knew. If you got it right, it will tell you guess tha aur aapko right aa gaya. You got it right. Guess tha and you got it wrong. Now, why is this important? This is important because it will help you understand, number one, whether you are a good guesser or a bad guesser, right? Good guesser or a bad guesser. Second more important thing is, it will allow you to go back to these questions that you did not know well enough to confidently answer, to read the explanation. समझ रहे हो? So it will allow you, it will remind you कि ये question you got it right, but भैया बेटा, you got it right because you guessed it. You did not know it confidently. So read the explanation and know the reason confidently, so that if this question comes tomorrow again, you should be able to confidently mark it on the exam. So it's a very, very powerful tool to understand your weak areas, even though you got the questions correct. समझ रहे हो? Are you following? That is why I wanted to use that. And finally, you changed 34 answers. Of this, you got 14 correct and 20 wrong. So you changed 34 answers. What does it mean? So this is another fun part of the analytics, where it tells you, okay, first you have marked one answer, then you changed it. If your changed answer is correct, which means your second guessing is actually, or second doubting your answer is actually fruitful, because आपको जो doubt आता है ना, that has a positive outcome. That is telling you, yes, your gut feeling when you change the answer is usually right. Your second thought is usually right. And sometimes what happens is you change the answer and usually mark wrong. And if you keep on doing it more and more, you realize कि यार आपकी जो first guess होती है ना, the first feeling that you get is usually right. So this helps you understand what type of a person you are. Are you a person whose first answer, the impulsive answer, is the right answer? Or are you a person whose second guess, or when you start questioning yourself, is the correct answer? So this gives an idea about you, and this will be different for different people. So for me, usually, the first answer that comes to my mind is usually the correct answer. Maybe it is not for you. So this keeps on changing between people and keeps on changing depending on the preparation. So use this and understand what type of person you are. Okay. So did you understand this first page of your GT, right? So GT. Now let me give you an example of another GT. So let's go back. Another GT. Let's look at the GT that we took in the year. That is the last GT before the exam. Ye wala. You have not taken this. Okay, so the green tick mark you have to see, right? The green tick mark. So let's see, look at this. Okay, again, same thing. 690th rank out of 5,400 people. As the exam approaches, more and more number of students write it. So the authenticity of it becomes stronger and stronger. You got 116 correct out of 150. Okay, again, don't worry about the correct. Look at your percentile. Percentile 87%. You're better than 87% of the people appearing for the same exam. You're done. Don't worry. 116 correct, 34 wrong, 0 skipped. It should be 0 skipped for you. These are the top rankers, and you should see what the top ranker got. 143 correct, you got 116 correct. So quite a substantial gap that you need to work on. Okay, and where are you? You're somewhere over here, right? Right. Okay, very good. Now you can go to full analytics also. Again, click on the full analytics, get inside. It will show you the same thing, spider graph. And now you can notice that your spider graph is closer to ENT. Matlab, your ENT has suddenly become better than the usual toppers. Your biochemistry is again at on par the level of toppers. Your pediatrics is just a little behind. Your pharmacology is good enough, right? So this is an idea of seeing where you stand compared to your friends. Now, your strongest subject is community medicine. Awesome. And your weakest subject now is physiology. You can expand the list again to see your top 3 subjects, and you can also see the bottom 3 subjects to work on, and I'll show you how to work on it. Again, total time taken is 2 hours 8 minutes. Time for answering is this. Time for reviewing has become 0 now. So over the years, over the weeks and months of preparation, now you don't want to waste time reviewing. You're not second guessing yourself. You're marking the answer and confidently moving ahead. You're a good guesser now. You guessed one answer and got one of it correct. You have changed 36 answers and you got 27 correct and 9 wrong. Have you seen the improvement over those 2 years? Okay, in this student, you have seen the improvement over the 2 years. In the beginning, he was a bad guesser. He was second guessing himself. He was getting the scores wrong. And now he has improved. Okay, so this is basically the GT analytics of a student who has cleared his FMG exam that I'm using as a representation to explain to you. So this is his improvement over the months of preparation. Samajh rahe ho? Kitna acha hai? So nice. So this is the individual analysis of the grand test. But what's the point? It's not so valuable. It just gives you a picture of one subject, right? It just gives you a picture of one test. You might perform poorly in one test for a particular reason. Maybe the tough paper was tough or not. But if you go and look at your overall progress in GTs, which is over here on the top, the moment you click on it, you will see that these are all the grand tests you have appeared for, and you will see your graph of how you have been improving. So look at this test. So in this test, your percentile was 73, your score was 53%. Okay, this was on 15th November 2021. And then this one, 29th August 2022, 98 percentile, 71%. 29th August 2022. Then in 14th September 2022, the scores have improved. The scores, national mock exam, scores have improved. Grand test, scores have dipped, but the percentile remained 99 percentile. So here the percentile was 99, score was 82%. Here the percentile is 99, score is 67. So again, I'm telling you, don't worry about the score. Score badega girega. But percentile is something that you want to consistently increase because that is your overall performance compared to your peers, and that should be higher. Now look at this chart. Look at this lovely student. His percentile has been increasing and it consistently stayed at 99, 99, 99, 99, 99, 99%. And just before the exam, it took a little dip, maybe because he was not very confident or something. Anxiety has hit him. But jo bhi hai, yahan pe thoda sa gira. But otherwise, beautiful, beautiful performance. Now this is an overall progress of the GT. And if you look at the subjects below here, subject-wise performance, this is an overall performance wale subject. Matlab overall, which is your strongest subject among all the grand tests that you have given, 10 or 15 grand tests that you've given, the average of that, your strongest subject is ENT, surgery, obs and gynecology, and your weakest subjects are anesthesia, psychiatry, and radiology. Are you understanding? So this is overall, and this will become more and more powerful when you keep on giving more and more grand tests. If you give one grand test, your one GT analytics will be populated. But if you keep on giving more and more grant tests, like this student over here who started giving in 2021 and then improved and gave many more tests in 2022, August हुआ, September हुआ, October हुआ, November हुआ, and then December and January, and then he cracked the exam in February. Done. Okay, right? He's done the exam. This is how he is prepared. So when you keep on giving the tests again and again, your overall GT analytics will become populated and will give you more data. So you know now confidently your ENT is strong. Now, how will you use this overall GT analytics and compare it with your one GT analytics? There sometimes when we appear for a test. Okay. Now, test may be tough. If the test is tough and your weak subject suddenly becomes your strong subject, and your strong subject suddenly becomes your weak subject for that particular test, I don't want you to be worried. This is what I want you to do. Suppose in one GT, your ENT is your weak subject. But overall, you know that ENT is your strongest subject. Overall, you know ENT is your strongest subject. But in one GT, your ENT became weak subject. Now you don't panic. But this analysis will basically help you isolate and pinpoint where your weak area is. How? See, go to this GT, particular GT where your ENT was weak, right? Go to this GT and look at the questions. What kind of questions did they ask? Did they ask questions from ear, nose, throat? Which part of ear, nose and throat? Focus on that area to revise, because that is your weak area, because ye test mein jo questions wahan se aaye, you were unable to answer. Otherwise, we know that ENT is a strong field, strong subject, but we got less score in ENT in this particular test because that area, the area where the questions were focused on, was my weak area. For example, you know your obs and gynecology is a strong subject, number 3 pe top subject. But in a particular grant test, the obs and gyne falls at a lower level. I want you to stop and look at the kind of questions that were asked. Maybe there were a lot of ovarian tumors there. Maybe there were a lot of cervical cancer questions there. Maybe that is your weak area, and that is how you need to focus on those areas to improve your obs and gyne and make it stronger and stronger. Samajh rahe ho? So instead of revising obs and gyne completely and wasting your time, you know which area of obs and gyne is weak for you so that you can read it again and again to improve that weak area. So this gives you targeted, specific, sniper-like focused area to improve. And this is a beautiful tool if you know how to use it. Now, another shortcut is, instead of going to the grant test specifically and clicking on its analysis, over here in the overall progress bar also, you can look at this grant test, right? This grant test, suddenly your score was just around 60%. And you want to now explore and see why. So here you will have a button called details. Press on the details. When you press on the details, it will take you to that test directly. You open it up, go to its full analytics and see what happened there. See what happened there. Your anesthesia was weak, your surgery was strong. Where were you failing? You were failing at anesthesia. Okay, you are failing at anesthesia. So you need to improve on that, right? So it helps you come back. It helps you quickly view what your weak areas were overall in your progress of the preparation. So now once we've understood how to use the GT analytics tool, I want you to understand how we can use it to improve our scores. The first thing is give more grant tests. You understood that. Now after giving a grant test, I want you to open the analysis, right? Open the analysis and see what happened. Look at your strong subjects and weak subjects. Okay. If you know your strong subjects are strong subjects, congratulations. But if you find your weak subjects have suddenly changed from your usual weak subjects, it's now that your strong subject has become weak, open it and see that yaar, aise to nahi hona chahiye. I told you, go and look at what kind of questions that have been asked in this particular test. And that area should be your area of focus. That way, that subject that was already strong will become stronger. Second thing is that you will notice that there are bottom 3 subjects that you have in this test. Make it a point to revise these 3 subjects before you go for the next test. Trust me, what will happen is these 3 bottom subjects will suddenly become your medium or strong subjects, and your score will start improving. And if you keep on doing this for each and every subsequent grant test, 3 subject kar karke, all your subjects will slowly start to improve and your overall score will slowly start to improve. And that is how you increase your grant test scores slowly and patiently. Now, the second problem students face after giving a grant test is to review the grant test, right? Grant test to de diya, josh mein de diya, ho gaya, done. Now, the aim is to review it. What do you mean review? Review means look at the grant test See what are the questions that you have gotten right. See what are the questions you have gotten wrong. Meaning, now you have to go through each and every question. That is time consuming, that is painful. But this is what I suggest you do. Most of the students feel it is a tedious job. They are not interested. It feels like they are wasting time. But no, they are not wasting time. You are using your time to work on your weak areas, because this is the exercise that you have done now. Why have you given the grand test? You have given the grand test to see where you are weak. Now, how will you know where you are weak unless you see the questions? The questions to dekhna hi hai, and then you can improve on them. So look at the questions and see what went wrong. Now, there are many reasons why you get the question wrong. First is you don't remember it. You don't remember it. Pada tha, dekha tha, but yaad nahi tha. So now you know कि you did not remember it. Go and read it again. Another reason why you get the questions wrong is maybe you had the wrong information. Read the explanation. Read the explanation. If the explanation is in contrast to what you have read, it's time to correct your reasoning, correct your answer, correct your logic. Maybe it was wrong. You can't keep going to the exam with the same broken logic. You have to fix it. Take it. So third reason why you usually get your answers wrong on the exam is your concepts were wrong. You thought things would be like this, and this is what you've been thinking all your life. Suddenly you realize that your concept was wrong. So fix it. It's very good that you found out that this was a wrong concept in your head, and you found it out very early. So just fix it. And the last reason, the fourth reason why you usually get answers wrong is your skill. You're unable to understand how the exam is playing with you with words. And this is a very silly mistake. This is what we usually call as a silly mistake. So you did not read the question correctly. The question was all are true except, or all of them are false except. So you missed the except word. Okay, which of the statement is true? Which of the statement is false? You did not read the question correctly. So these are the silly mistakes. So the four reasons why most of the students get MCQs wrong are they don't remember it properly. The information they had about a particular topic was wrong. They read it wrong. The concept they had about a particular topic was totally wrong because they built it wrong, because they were wrong from the beginning itself. And the fourth reason is the silly mistakes. So more and more grand test you give, all of these areas can be improved. All of these areas can be improved. Okay? So you've understood, why you need to review them. So how to review them? So how to review the grand test? So my suggestion to you is, you can do it in one day. If you are motivated, you can sit down and do all the questions in one day. So many students I know do it in one day. But if you're not very motivated, you can actually divide it into a few days. So there are 300 questions that you have done, right? 150 and 150 for your MCA exam. So divide into 3 days, 100, 100, 100, rows 100 kar lena. Go through them, go through all of them. And how do you go through questions? See, there are questions that you got right, and you know why you got them right. You remember them very well. So those are the questions you don't have to read and waste your time. You know it, you've marked it right, so move away. Now there are two kinds of questions. Others you got right, but you don't know how you got it right. जिसमें आपका guess tracker help करेगा. Those questions you should know why you got right. Okay? If it were a guess, make it a point to read the concept. Next time you should get it right out of knowledge, not out of guess. And the third type of questions that you should review obviously are the ones that you got wrong. ये तो सब करते हैं. Why did you get wrong? Information गलत होगा, your concept is wrong, or you remembered it wrong. Whatever it is, now is the time to correct it. The questions that you know and you got right, don't waste your time. The questions you got right, but for the wrong reasons like guessing, that you should read. And obviously the questions you have gotten wrong. So wrong questions and guessed questions are the questions you should spend time on. So say out of the 300 questions, if you get 100 questions correct out of your knowledge, वो तो चले गया ना. So only 200 questions you have to do, and you have to review them patiently. Give them time because it is an important exercise. My friends, just reading the notes again and again will not take you far on the exam. You have to learn how to answer the questions on the exam. I know students who have so much knowledge. They can talk about a particular pathology for hours altogether. But when it comes to MCQs, they're unable to answer. The reason is they don't know how to play this game. So the more and more questions you practice, the more and more better you will get at playing this game. Now, before I finish this discussion and go to the comment section to answer your questions, this is one very important thing I want to tell you. There will always be this doubt that the information that is there in the question bank or the grand test, is it correct or not? Trust me, the information is accurate. The information accurate. The teachers, the QBank creators, the people working on these tests have put in so much effort to make sure that the information is accurate. So if you have ever any doubt, just trust their source. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Have faith in your source because it is accurate. The second thing I want to tell you about the grant tests that you appear for on Marrow is that the grant tests are very, very representative. It's in fact very scarily representative. It's horrifying how representative it is for the exam. Ask your toppers, ask your seniors who have appeared for this exam. The mocks and the grant tests that they have appeared for on the Marrow platform feels like the actual exam that they have given. That is how it trains you. So more and more grant tests that you give, more and more confident you will be on the exam day, because it just feels like you're giving another grant test. So I urge you to practice more and more grant tests on the platform, because it is truly representative, because it knows the trends or the kind of questions the MCI exams have been asking over the years. And these are the questions that we have reframed and presented to you so that you understand them and are familiar with the topics. The last thing I want to tell you is that I've tried to explain everything that is necessary for you to understand the importance of grant test and its analytics. But if you feel I've missed something, please ask them in the comments. I will try to answer them. And before I close this session, one important thing I want to tell you is, see, whenever you want to make a beautiful dish or a very tasty biryani or a dish, whatever it is, the ingredients that you put in to make it have to be perfect. Otherwise, the outcome, the result, the biryani will not be tasty. Right? So how do you know the ingredients that you're putting into this biryani are right? You have tools to measure it, right? 1 cup itna, 2 cup utna, 1 teaspoon this, 2 teaspoon that. How do you measure that? You use teaspoons, you use cups, you weigh, you measure. So same thing is for your preparation. You have to measure your progress to get a good outcome. You have to see how much effort that you're putting in is actually showing any kind of result to get final outcome, that is your clearing the MCI screening exam. So just don't go in blindly without preparation. Just don't go in blindly without measuring your approach, without measuring your preparation. Just don't go in blindly. Use this grant test tool and its analytics to measure your preparation and improve on the areas you're weak in, and let go of areas and enjoy your areas where you're strong in, and don't waste your time rereading them. Focus on your weak areas. Don't waste your time rereading the stronger areas, and measure your preparation to get a perfect biryani as a result. That is the perfect score for an exam. Right? So I wish you all the best, and I want to see you on the other side of this exam. I will see you again. Till then, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.